How could this have happened? How could... I don't think that we ever did anything. Yeah, I don't... not that I can remember. And I feel like I would remember something like that. The only thing I could think is that maybe she got a hold of my jars. But why? Why would she do that? "13 years ago, it would have been." I mean, I remember when Aiden was born. I was around for that, and I thought I knew who the dad was. We always thought it was Bill Carrot. That was my girlfriend's... oh my God. Oh my God. Not my girlfriend, my sister. That's not the first time I've made that slip up. My sister's boyfriend at the time was a guy named Billy Carrot. I wonder if he's still around. I have to ask him. I wonder if he even knows. Because 13 years ago was when Aiden was born, and my sister and Billy were not married, and we all hated him. I mean, we hated my sister too, but we especially hated Billy Carrot. And they split up pretty shortly after that, about a year after. It didn't even last a year. I'm gonna have to see if I can get in touch with him. I feel like I remember him. I feel like he was one of those recurring Facebook likes for a long time. But this still doesn't answer the question of what would be my sister's motivation to do this? Because I mean, that would really be playing the long game. I mean, I guess I don't, but and we did take a paternity test. Unfortunately, believe me, I thought of that. I said I was so sure she was making it up. I was like, yeah, right. So I went. Did you know you can get a paternity test on Amazon.com? I didn't know that. I've never been in this situation before. So we got in a big fight, my sister and I, the other day, because I finally just had enough, and I kicked her out of my house and Aiden, and I said, I don't care where you go, but get lost. Go back to Maryland. And so she said, oh, really? You're going to kick your son out of your house? She was really drunk, as usual. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, yeah, Aiden is your son, Dad. And I said, that's not funny. Shut your mouth. Get out and tell me the truth. She said, that is the truth. Get a paternity test. And I said, okay, I will. And I still thought she was making it up. It just seems like the type of thing that she would make up. And I guess I mean, there could have been, because basically the way the paternity test works is you ship it off to a place and then you get the results online. So I guess she could have fabricated the website. She could have made a fake website and a fake email. But that's crazy. I mean, now I understand. I understand more why she would do that than why she would do it at all in the first place. It makes more sense to me that she would go through all the trouble of I put the paternity test in the mailbox, which was stupid of me. I should have just dropped it off directly at the post office. I put it in the mailbox and then I forgot about it. And so it tracks to me that she would go into the mailbox and take it out, and then either she would do this or one of her techie friends would make a whole fake website, because it's not that hard to make a website. So you could just make a fake website and a fake email, and type it all up like these are the results. And it looked like a pretty janky website too. I was like, okay. But I just figured, scientists, those types, they're not really into web design. So I just figured it was one of those things. But because she needs me to be financially responsible for them at this point. And I'm starting to think that maybe this was the reason she came out to LA all along. Okay, so let's explore the two options. Option A, Aiden is my son, and he was all along. So that means 13 years ago, she took one of my jars. I have a bunch of jars of genetic material because I have it's a long story. Basically, every New Year's, I try to time it so that at the stroke of midnight, literally, I provide a genetic sample. And it has to be exactly on the dot at midnight. And I usually get it pretty accurate. And then I keep it, just for sentimental reasons, I keep it in a jar and I put the jar in the freezer. So I have one from every year going back as far as it was even possible. So that would mean 13 years ago, she took one of the jars and somehow, I guess it wouldn't be that hard in theory. And I don't know what her motivation would have been at that point. We always sort of had a running joke in our family, like, oh, you two one day are gonna get married and have a kid. It was sort of like everybody always told us that we seemed more like a couple than siblings, and they were like, well, so when's the wedding? When's, like, our whole family was like an inside joke. Like, are you pregnant yet? But I thought it was just, every family has those types of jokes. I thought that was just normal. But I guess it could have, I don't know. Well, I guess really, okay, so, all right, so that's option A. And then, if that happened 13 years ago, what doesn't make sense to me is that she would wait 13 years and then execute her whole plan of becoming, like, making me being financially dependent on me. Why not just do that a year after? So that doesn't really make sense. What makes a lot more sense to me is that she got to a place in life where she was destitute. And so she said, I am going to go out to Los Angeles to visit, and somehow I'm going to ensnare Dan in my life. So, I mean, I don't know if maybe, you know what? Maybe the car wasn't in drive. Because the initial accident that paralyzed Aiden was because I thought I got pulled over and got out of the car and left the car in drive, I thought. But There's no way to know that the car was in drive. I just don't remember. So it sounds crazy, but I bet she put the car in drive herself and drove it off the cliff and unbuckled his seatbelt so that it would seem like it was my fault, and she could then milk me dry for every drop that I had. And again, I'm not sure where the plan ends and where real life begins. Like, I don't know if Aiden maybe was going to shoot up a school and that was all just, he was just going crazy independently and she used that to her advantage. But this is making a lot of sense. So she got to the point where I had to financially provide for them, and then now this is the last step of her master plan. But here's the other problem. She must know that, I mean, I don't know specifically what the law is, because if I did not consent to having this baby, then I don't believe that legally I'm responsible for it, but I don't know really in California. And would it even be California? Would it be Maryland because it happened in Maryland 13 years ago? And then she faked the paternity test. I don't know. You know what I have to do? I'm gonna have to get a more official one. I'm gonna have to go to a doctor. That's what I'm gonna do. It was stupid to rely on the mail test. I had a terrible 4th of July. I hate 4th of July. I don't like things that are loud. So I really don't like fireworks. Okay, so next step, I like to say concrete. What's the next thing I have to do? Next, they're still in my house. So I am going to have to, I feel like that's perfectly within my rights to say, all I have to do is insist on going to the doctor and getting a paternity test, which she could not possibly fake. So if she's resistant to that idea, then that's my answer right there. I don't even need one. Then I'll know that she's making all this up. If she refuses to do that test that she can't fake, then we'll know. Regardless, he is not my son. Even if genetically that is supposedly the case, it does not matter, because your DNA and your genes is just whatever happened to happen. I can choose who is my son and who is not, and he is not my son. I am not his dad. I don't care what the DNA says. I guess I should be happy, because I know now that regardless, they're out of my life. I hope that he is my son, because then that way I have every reason to say, get out of my life, you too, because of an insane thing that she did that I think is illegal. She's stupid. It's going to be very hot today. We're in a heat wave. It's going to be very hot. So I'm glad I got out here early in the morning. It's not so bad. That's what I like about California. well, there's a lot of things I like about California, but that's a big one, is that it gets very cool at night in the summer. So it was 62 last night was the low, and the high was 90. So it really cools off. East Coast is not like that. East Coast feels like you just took a shower in the middle of the night. All right, well, I'll keep you updated because, yeah.